Trying to sum up some of the things that we had done last night. I have about 6 or 7 guts and guard traps. Unfortunately, I'm going to try to find some of them. I had them all based on tapes. I don't have a cut up of guts. One of my dear assistant coaches has that somewhere around the country. But we'll try to just look at a couple, and I have a few more sweeps. We have some tight end sweeps. You only saw split end sweeps, and I brought them out here. We might as well take a look at them. I don't know if it will help you or not. Hopefully now, by looking at some of the drills and some of the talking, maybe you'll see some of the things that we talked about on film. And we don't live in a perfect world. My kids weren't perfect, but they tried hard. And you'll see some of the things, hopefully, that we talked about. But before I get started, coming around and trying to show everybody a perfect play, it reminded me of this situation. I remember I'm trying to be a better Christian, and I hope everybody else is a good person, but it reminds me of a thing talking at these clinics when you're trying to, put your best foot forward. There was two old people that belonged to this church congregation, and they never got married. And sure enough, the man was 81 and the woman was 79, and they were real religious, and they never got married. And they met at church, and they decided, you know what? They started seeing each other, and they said, you know what? This is a wonderful thing. Maybe we should get married. Well, she had never been on a date. He had never been on a date. Well, they decided to go ahead and have this wedding, and they did it. So sure enough, it was the honeymoon night. And she had this nice, gown she put on. And, he was in the room there, and he was all ready. It was going to be the first time they were going to consummate the marriage. And, she was real nervous. And so when he got ready to get close to her, she went, she felt her heart flutter, and she said, I've got acute angina. And he looked at her and said, your boobs ain't too bad either. I like that. Yeah, like that. All right, let's look at a little bit of why clinic makes me think of that. Okay, let's look at let's try to look at a gut here, and then I'm gonna try to I'm gonna go a little bit back. That go off. I've got one here. Maybe we won't fish through it. This is a gut that we ran against North Carolina A&T. I forget what year it was, and it happens to be a touchdown, but it's not a long run. Gut was a play that usually averaged always over 5 yards of carry for us, as I went back and looked through my statistics there. What's it there? The baby was playing the whole time. Jeez. Well, I had to clean up. This is a bad sign here. Maybe we'll sorry, guys. Judy. Yeah, like that. Okay, we can slow it down if you can see it without the glare. I'll try to stay away. I'm going to show you. I don't have very good film, but look at this. Got one of these damn razor things. Coming out, All right, here we are they're in obviously an even front, and I'll get into this probably the last segment, how we check our plays. If you notice, and I'm not going to talk much about goal line, but when we get down in there close, if we need a 2 tight end set, we go 2 tights and 2 wings at all times, and That's our entire goal line package. We will run a similar plays that we talk about, down, waggle, out of our set. We don't feel like teaching our kids new things. But down here, this game plan, we wanted to go 2 tights. We wanted to go 2 splits. We wanted to put the pressure on this defensive coordinator. The year before, they really waxed us. They did some things that we felt were unsound, and we felt one way to control them was going in 2 tights. So here we are with a situation where we've got a wide technique here, a 3 technique, and a 1 on the backside. And at this point, I'm sure we were checking, but it doesn't matter. We always feel like, obviously, we'd rather run something at the 3 technique. What you're going to see here is the guard pass influence rather than pull away. I can't remember right now why we did that, whether if it's in years past when we pulled away, we felt that wasn't effective, but this game right here, he's going to be using his pass influence. Bruce, will it step me through it, or?
I don't think it does for anything.
Okay. We'll just have to look at it real quick here. Okay. Pass influence, tackle, guard, gutting around. Shot again. You can see the okay. You can see the tackle getting a nice shot on the backer, and you can see the guard. Notice he has a backer assignment. When they were a 4-3 team, and I guess when they, in this situation, they would crowd their backers or adjust their backers for some type of pressure. And when there's only one backer, our tackle has a backer assignment, so he and the guard both sort of waffle the middle backer there. Okay. I'll show you one more. It's a little hard to say it's in the second quarter, but I have the numbers all written down, but we'll see it just a second. That was down, that one you got. It's coming up here in this. Again, I guess I thought we pulled away this time, but we didn't. It's the same scenario again. If you look, we've got a one technique, or it might even be an eagle look there. Pass influence to the backer, got around. Wait a minute, I got this expensive thing here. Let's do it this way. Okay, you want to eyeball that guard as he guts around. You want to, the influence, we know what's going to happen there. Let's see what the tackle does. And again, I don't have this thing scripted to. Tackle goes, boom. You get the picture. I'm sorry I don't have any. We can fish through the full ways, but I feel like we'll waste too much time. We've got too much that we have to do. Okay. Somebody else, there's times when our kids, this is just sweep to a tight end and wing. Okay, there's, I'm not going to beat you up with all this. We're going to look at a few. backside guard getting through there. We had a problem with our kids climbing. So, you know, look, and there's a case where the kid gets beat. Like I say, what's going on here? I guess what I'm getting at, man, is we have some of the same problems that you have. There's a wash down by the wing back. If you focus maybe on some of the things that we talked about, here's a terrible job by the wing back, as you can see there. It's a better job. That guard there is the one that's with the 49ers, that backside guard you can get there. Boom, boom. See how as you make that 90-degree cut and accelerate through, you can run through arm tackles. Okay. There's a case where we allow penetration. That guy did all that penetration. We would say that I can tell whether a play's going to work or not based on the down block by the wing back. I can tell every time. If there's any type of penetration, no good. And there's some gray areas in there where maybe the wing back should be letting these guys go. But if he steps down and there's a guy inside of him, we're going to require that he blocks that guy. He should definitely block him here. Boom, boom. Hello. If there's a million, it looks like we're a little wide there. Those were just sweeps to a tight end and wing. Okay, here comes the unbalanced sweeps now. There we get to them. Stop. What's going on here? Stop. See, there was a case where we cut on the backside of the down block by the wing back. There's a case where the wing back let the end go, made the 10 call, we kick the guy out, line him down there. They're stringing out. They're doing a nice job. This is Youngstown. They string a lot of things out. Okay, notice. Points you don't get off this stuff. Yeah. We had a problem, you know, that's that Youngstown, we had a problem with that backer filling. Push this thing's hard to work on. Okay. Tell you what, by about 7 o'clock tonight, I'll have this thing figured out. Okay. You know, notice when we felt like we had that tube, you know, just some things that you could see. I know they look like little ants probably, you people way back there, but notice how wide that we would allow that receiver to get if indeed his assignment was stalk. And this was early on. This film is fairly old. We told them, you know, their normal landmark is never inside of the numbers, but if that guy will go with you, take him as far as he'll go at times. But you never want to go far enough that he's going to access inside leverage. You know, so that was generally our rule on a stalk block, it doesn't have to be sweep now, it can be anything. So that the wide out is going to take that guy as far away from the play as he can until that guy establishes some type of inside position. Okay. And, this is Jackson State. I think they're a 9-2 football team that year. I think we rushed the ball for 420 yards on them or something. Now look, I put this one in here on purpose. You see, normally you would say, well, what are you doing, Coach? Look how important. That good passing already? Jeez.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I might, you know.
You're about 4 or 5 plays ahead of it.
Okay. I'm going to show you good with the bad now. I need to take an auto-visual aid course. Okay. Here we are. We're in an eagle look. I mean, they're in an eagle look right here, and that guy was unbelievable. The minute the guard pulled, whew, I mean, well, you'll see, he's in our backfield. And unfortunately, sometimes our tackles, we got, like I say, the tackles that we got, at least in our system at Delaware State, that was their last stop. We've tried them someplace else, and they would usually, we've tried to recruit as many defensive linemen as we could and make them offensive linemen. So these guys, this was their last stop, and unfortunately, sometimes they were a little slow. And we told them, now, if you can't get it locked down on this play, the next stop for you now is the bus ride home. But this is a case where bad first step. You see that? You know, we talk about gap read down, and you have to take your gap step. And there was a case of, obviously you couldn't even see it, so maybe the guy's in the first row. If you watch that guy's first step on his gap, it was almost a 45-degree step instead of a flat step. And it's the little things like that that just get you in the next week. Okay, that's Robert Forshea right there. That's the starting lineman for the defensive, for the Detroit lines. We had a problem checking him at times. That we. See how that kid, I mean, you know, it wasn't great, you know, but he made his 90-degree cut, made something out of that. See what I mean about when you plant and accelerate on through there, you can make something happen, even though that wasn't a good case of it. They had it too strung out. But we tell those guys, plant and accelerate, and something good will happen to you, even if you see a bunch of bodies in there. Down block, cut. See, we wish he was squared up a little bit more. Okay, here you go. It's hard to tell. It looks like to me that this probably shouldn't be a 10 call. It looks like he's got, the halfback has outside leverage on that guy. But watch it somewhere down the line. It looks like the guard either heard a 10 call. If you look at the guard, his path is so flat. I'm not sure if there was some type of miscommunication there by the wingback and the guard as you watch the play. See? No, not that one. No. This one. See that? I don't know. Look at that guy. Terrible. Yeah. All right, we'll get one good one here. We're not going to quit on a bad one like that, but if you notice, we do a lot of them. See that cut and accelerate? There's a bunch of garbage there. It's a 10-yard football play. Boom, boom. All right, there's a perfect example of trying to cut back in the acceleration lane. We didn't like that. Didn't square up and go. other side. Got together, and a new guy came into town, and he opened up his church and said, we're not going to do it the old way, I'm new, but I want us to do is share. We need some real bonding, and everybody needs help, and everybody is singed. And what we need to do is get it out so we can all help each other. And I want this to be an open communal type of thing. And if you've got something that's bothering you, you need to get it out and say it in front of the congregation so the brethren can help you. And so everybody said, well, that's different news, but let's try it. So he said, we're going to open this up for testimony. So the guy says, Father, something's really been bothering me. You know, I work down at the bank, and I have to admit, I stole some money. I'm embezzled some money. And he didn't call him Father, he called him, preacher. He said, preacher, I've done that. And he said, well, this is what we're talking about. You're opening up, and we're glad that you did that. And now, brother, we're all going to say a prayer for you. You're opening up just like we talked about. So another guy stands up and says, Pastor, he says, I have to admit, he goes, I've gone out on my wife. Oh, brother, he says, let's all get together as a congregation. You're opening up, and we all need to pray for you. This old fella in the back raises his hand and says, yeah, stand up, brother. He says, Pastor, he says, I've had sex with a goat. The pastor looked at him and said, I don't believe I'd said that in front of everybody. So, break him. I feel that way sometimes. I'll show you the bad with the good over here. All right, now what we want to talk about, we're going to go to another phase. We're going to talk about Waggle. And most of you are going to know Bruce. Bruce here?
Oh, no problem, Coach.
Now, can you get him to change the sun? We're going to talk about Waggle now, but before we talk about Waggle, we're going to start out just like we did with sweep and guard, trap, and gut. We're going to talk about the basic Waggle just as you know it. So you're going to say, well, this isn't anything. I know all this, but what we're going to try to do then is maybe expand a little bit and show you what we've been able to do with Waggle. We think Waggle itself is almost a passing attack. Through the years, Waggle, some form or the other.
I was going to try.
What we try to do with Waggle, as I look back on it, it was anywhere from 45% of our passing attack was some form of Waggle some years, and always at least a third. When I break it down, a play action, and out of the play action, not just the whole play action is 30%, I'm talking about Waggle is 30% of what we actually did. So to us, it's a form of passing attack in itself. However, but let's go to the basics, because our kids always have to go back to the basics to get a reference point. And some people, hey, there's been years where you don't need to go much farther than what we call single receiver Waggle. But that's what I want to talk about the next in this session right here, is Waggle.
We slide that over still yet, if that won't make it.
You got to realize when we're running our offense, at times if we're just in a 100 or tight end wing right, split in left formation, that's a compressed formation, which makes us a little bit different other than maybe wishbone people. Now even wishbone people are all spread out all over the place. So our wing T system without going to some of the formations we eventually got to, we're compressed in there. Okay, that allows the defenses to press. You know, we often say we only play on a third of the field because our formation, you know, is so tight compared to some of the other offenses that you see. And we felt like at times that we don't force the defense to defend the entire field initially. There's some advantages to having a compressed formation. We'll talk about them, but formation does allow you to attain quick width, belly pass, those types of things, where the wingback getting into that flat. Some of the advantages, again, because we are so tight, we can get crossers into routes right now. Okay. I said Waggle's 30 to 35%, and it's been even higher at times. We break our Waggles down in terms of single receiver Waggles. That's through tight end and split end, and generally that's what you people know as the Waggle route. Going back to a single split end or going to a lone tight end. That's what we'll talk about here initially. We have it broken down to what we call two receiver Waggles, and that's what I'm going to explain to you. Then we have what we call called Waggles, Waggles at 5, Waggle takeoff, run to Waggle called, run away Waggles, Waggle block, trips Waggle. So, you know, we're a little bit like Forrest Gump, like Bubba and Forrest Gump. We got Waggle, sprint, we got every kind of Waggle you can have. You know, we got stir fry Waggle, we got all, we run it a lot of different ways. And one of the reasons, you know, I love hearing people comment on our system that don't know jack about it. Why would you run a play action pass on 3rd and 22? You know, I've heard all that. But do you realize, you know, Waggle, nice blocking protection. You've got big guys out on a perimeter blocking rush people at times. I like the protection scheme, to be honest with you. How come you don't have sprint out? Well, you know, I'm not very smart or whatever, but to me, we've got to form a sprint out in Waggle. Because we've got people, we're getting to a perimeter. We're also doing a little bit more. We're making a little fake in there. And you know as well as I do, I don't have to tell you all the benefits, but when you get man coverage and you've got that back and that guy's got that back, and you know, and they cross in the backfield, all kinds of things happen if you're going to dump the ball in the flat sometimes. So I've never been that big on the sprint out, though we've had some sprint out, and there's a place for sprint out, but in general, I like the blocking scheme a lot of times. So yeah, I'll call Waggle on 3rd and 22. We've been successful at it at times. I felt like that was as good a protection scheme as some of the other ones, particularly if they were pretty good up the middle. If they've got too much to worry about now, we don't worry about that. Okay? I'm going to get to these things. Okay, single receiver Waggle concepts. We like running single receiver Waggles, or the Waggles as you know them, only in the middle of the field. We feel like, or into the boundary. We don't mind that. But as I'll show you as we get into it a little bit, we feel like when you run a Waggle right and the ball's on the left hash and you've got a wideout out there and he's running an out cut or a post corner, whatever you have him doing, that's one receiver on 2/3 of the field, basically, and I don't know, I don't like that. There's something about that I just didn't like. So we sort of try to have Waggle principle, I guess is what I'm saying. However, in the middle of the field, we think it's a great play. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the whole picture here, and maybe we can. Mike, make sure that you, what does that look like? Is that all, is that okay? You be my, pardon? That looks hateful, that looks hateful from back there. The one of you then, what, if that's what it looked like last night, it's one of
You need to move it more towards the center of the screen, Coach. So don't destroy the projector to the screen. The entire table.
It won't go any farther over there.
You need to move the table.
The backers, it really doesn't matter to us. Do you guys, let's put the tight end in over here, all right? Let's forget about that, guys. Guys wants the tight end in? Okay. Okay, we start with the right tackle. Okay, and we call him the three-man. I don't want to get off on all that. We said his assignment is gap down on. Okay, so is there a man down from him in an 8-man front? Yes. So he's going to block down, run block the guy basically, head in front, and then he's going to try to gather and just stay on. We can talk more details later. Let's try to just get through the play. 4 is going to pull and log or kick out and log. Obviously, when we say log, it's pin down. We have, if you don't know the terminology, pin down or I don't know, I guess it has some more words, but I think you're getting the picture. And when we talk about him pulling, he pulls and he gets about a yard of depth, and he wants to read the first man outside the tackle's block. And with an 8-man front, or in this setup, we think we can usually get a pull. I mean, get a pin with his pull. And his pull can be nice and tight. A yard is what we're looking for there. Okay, the center's assignment is block 1 cup. Now we get into numbering of people. And we always start, and you know, this is really going to sound strange, but pass protection is a little bit different numbering system for us than option blocking it. So bear with me when I get to that. But when we, and let's face it, I don't know if your guys are like mine. They can block the fronts, and they can't tell me one rule. I was talking with some guys about this the other day. I used to get so ticked off about guys. Okay, tell me your rule on Waggle. Or no, first I would ask them, all right, who do you block on Waggle? Guy would point, yeah, I'll block him. And it would be correct. I'd say, now tell me your rule. Guys would, you know, get me on backer, you know, and he's like reaching, you know. And they wouldn't know it. And I used to burn my ass, you know. They don't even know their rules. Hey, if they can go to a front and block the right man every time because you put them in situations where they know what to do, I'm not so sure they need to be a coach like we are. You know, we have a saying, look, as coaches, you know, we see the game like this. The players are looking at it like that, you know, that front edge right there. So we weren't as big a stickler as they knew what to do, and most of our kids usually did, but you put them in situations where, you know, they're rote. They know what to do, but the hell they usually can't tell you what to do, or sometimes. But anyway, back to our situation here. Block 1 cup, we would start numbering with anybody on the center is 1, or the first down lineman is 1, second down lineman is 2, unless you got a blitz in there, and then the backer becomes 2, and the down lineman is 1. So in this case, 1, 2, and an 8-man front. Now that guy could become a blitz, but don't Okay, how about that? We're gonna block back here. Now, we're gonna pull here. Now, we're gonna get some depth. Okay? We're running Waggle to the right, obviously, here. For us, this would be a 621 Waggle. Now, here's where maybe at times we worry about the fullbacks and the guards, Coach. Was it you last night talking about the guards? Oh, somebody was, anyway. What we would tell that guard now is, everybody says, well, slow up, or, you wait and let the fullback go and all that. No. We said your technique is what allows everything to work from the guard standpoint. You take a deep drop step. Okay, you're already from the ball, what did we say, 2 feet? Now, as you take a drop step, you gain depth. And your next step, you're still climbing for depth, and we want you at 3.5 yards in front of the quarterback by the time you reach the original position, or the outside shoulder position of the front side guard. 3.5 yards of depth. So, he's at 2 feet, now he's about at 2 yards, so he's got to get 1.5 more yards. But now we want you in front of the quarterback. That's what we had more of a problem with. Look, you don't wait and you don't worry about the fullback. You have to be in front of that quarterback here when you get there. If not, we don't need you. If there's a blitz, if there's an outside pressure scheme, you're not going to be any good to us. That's what we worried more about. And if he got in there and said, well, the fullback, coach, I got back here, and the reason I was behind the quarterback is because I was afraid I'd run into the fullback, then we'd have a nice discussion with the fullback. Why aren't you taking off the ball? So, in other words, the fullback should always beat the guard through their own Waggle. Always. Okay? And now, the 7's assignment is block 2 cups, so he's going to check down, and this guy was 2, we said, and he steps and uses cup protection. Remember what I said, the reason we have this guy stepping down now, a couple of reasons. If you got a loop out by the tackle, they would exchange there, but mainly in the 8-man front, what we worried about, what did I say, that guy could become 2 if he blitzed, right? So we told our tackles now, that's 1 and that's 2 in a perfect world. But if that backer comes through B gap, then he's 2. So you step down. Your job is to block 2. You step down, and if he's coming, then he becomes 2. So you got to handle the backer. If he doesn't, you can hinge back and cup and block the tackle. And plus, we felt like that got you good inside leverage on the guy. And as we talk, guys, about some of this play action pass protection, we wanted you on the inside number, always using all the, you guys talk to the line coaches about all the power stepping and all that stuff they talk about with the pass pro. We want him on the inside number so that he had to run around the longest distance to get to the quarterback.
If that inside backer shoots A gap, does he jump on down that works down the back? That's where we got blown up.
Right, and this is one of the problems with 8-man front that we would work on weekly if we got it. Who becomes who over there? See, then technically, if he came through B, we said he was 2 and he's the tackles guy. And if the down man looped out into B and that guy came through A, now he becomes 1 and that guy's 2. If the backer blitzed, he was 1 or 2. And so all you did is you work those 2 guys in combination. He comes through here, the center turns back, block 1 cup. If 1 goes away from you, look for another 1 to replace him. And I'm going to tell you, that was the bitch. I'm with you all the way. Because now you're asking the tackle really to step down and eyeball the backer and get ready to get hinge position, on these 2 guys. But now we would say, well, wait a minute, that guy just became 2 because the backer went away. As you step down, eyeball the backer, and he blitzed through A, then, then he became 2. And you're right, that's a great question, because that was one of the situations we had to deal with, but that's the way we tried to handle it, for the most part. Now, I'll show you a couple other little things that we did that didn't get us as, remind me, because I'll jet right on to get into stuff, but the blocking, I think, is, it's the foundation. Here again, we're going to start changing the routes and the formations. Guess what? These boys here, they don't ever change. You know what I mean? So you got to get this straight before you can.
We would try to. I ended up not pulling it because we got beat so bad in the A gap, and then I didn't like the protection out front. It's not as well. So.
Yeah, well, I'll show you where we probably got into pulling one guard a lot more, just one guard. All right, because I think if they're going to do certain things. Now, they can do it, they can line head off and do different things, but here again, we always communicated. Usually, and this is what frosted us on games, and people figured this out, is, if you got a guy in a 3 technique on the guard, okay, or out wide, and he's going to take A gap, we feel like that's fairly unsound football. I mean, we're not running Waggle every play. You might be able to burn us on Waggle, but if you're going to do that, we've got belly cross block called, God almighty. I mean, you know what I mean? We didn't get as many people taking as many chances, so we felt like when they were going to do things like that, they would either get head up, or they would start indicating by their shades what they wanted to do. Now, can you help me out a little bit? Maybe they don't do that with you, and so that's not going to help you for me to say, oh, they'll shade it. They don't, we'll talk about it. Okay. Now, the reason I put the halfback in, he's got to make a great fake, and he's always going to fake sweep left here. I got it factor. And he's always going to make his fake, and we tell him, you carry out your fake. And we got some guys did it, some guys didn't. I'm not going to lie to you, you might have the same problem, but we told him, carry out your fake, and then first free man outside the tackle's block is yours. So, in an 8-man front, if you did get a blitz on the backside and the tackle got hung up on the backer and we did it all right, then that 7 technique became the halfback's block. There wasn't any pressure. As he made his fake, then he was an extra guy to help out with the tackle. Right, Coach? So he's actually part of the backside protection. Okay, we gave our wide outs. We got somewhere everything was semi-read route once we got going, and you don't have to do it that way. But versus 3, we would always get an out cut, and based on the speed of, and I think this is important, based on the speed of the receiver. We didn't write it in stone that it always had to be at 12 yards. And if we had some faster guys, sometimes we would deepen that baby up. But versus cover 3, he's going to read the coverage, and if the guy's in a deep zone, he's going to snap an out cut. And we're going to hear me talk about this frequently. We always threaten, we always teach our receivers, and I learned this from Eddie Grant, who's at Mississippi now. He's a good receiver coach. We always want to threaten the receiver's technique, and maybe you guys out here on the West Coast know all this kind of stuff. But when we get routes, if the guy's a deep third player, where doesn't he want you to beat him? In the deep third. So where are you going to threaten his technique? For his outside shoulder. You want your stem to always reflect what that guy doesn't want you to do. And our guys understood that. Matter of fact, they did a nice job of that. So they would threaten this guy's technique, and I don't know how I have him drawn there. That doesn't look schematically correct. But anyway, they're going to drive off the ball, threaten his technique. Start out at 12 yards, and ours was sort of like a comeback out. We would plant with the inside foot, snap the hips, and start coming back downhill at a 45-degree. We worked on coming straight down this stem. We just found that didn't work too well for us. we liked that the quarterback had had a little more room to err there if he throws it outside of the defenders. Okay. Let's get the routes and we'll get the quarterback's technique. Okay, the next guy that we'll talk about here is the fullback. Okay, if he's doing a sweep, we're making sweep left. So now his landmark, he's going to be left foot for the right foot of the center for his first 2 steps as he rolls over that imaginary ball just like he did in sweep and cut. We want this play to look exactly like it's going to be sweep, obviously. We talked about the halfback taking over imaginary ball for 3 steps, then to become a part of the pass protection. All right, now, once you went past the mesh point with the quarterback, the fullback's assignment is we tied him into the protection. Some people do, some people didn't. We did. He, on his first 2 steps, 1, 2, he's eyeballing the linebacker. If the linebacker's pressing the line of scrimmage and looking like he's going to blitz, he's going to take him. A gap, B gap, D gap, F gap. Then he plays. He's going to take that front side backer if he's on a blitz or dog, whatever it's on. All right, now, since we got it up there, he's not blitzing. His steps never, ever change, the first 2. Left foot for the right foot is 1, 2, the backer didn't come. We don't care how you get out in the flat after you've made that mesh. See, but we didn't want you saying, well, this is Waggle and I'm running out in the flat and I don't get a fake. We thought that the first 2 steps were vital to the play because it made a nice mesh, it made it look like sweep or gut. It made him eyeball the linebacker in case he was on a blitz. Now, once he got done those first 2 steps, I didn't care if he went out in the flat no deeper than 5 yards that way, through B gap. I didn't care if he looped around the field, went out there that way. What we never wanted him to do was to run through A gap and to try to get out in the flat, because he would never get there in time. All right? So this held true for all of his waggles. You want your first 2 steps always the same on Waggle. And watch your guys now when you call Waggle. And if they call Waggle, what are they going to do? They might take the first step, and they want to bust out into that flat if they were like my guys. And you really had to stay on them about that. Just made for a better looking play, too. Okay, the tight end. Okay, now here's a situation here that we encourage them to try to get underneath that 7 technique. However, we were flexible with that. If that guy was a stone-ass C-gap player, now you're going to waste your crosser if you say you got to get underneath the 7. All right? We would allow some variance there. We encouraged you. We wanted you to, we would even let you flex a little bit on the backside. It looks like sweep. We want it to look like sweep. Yeah, go ahead and get you a little bit of flex in there versus the 7 technique. And if he'll stretch with you, we expect you to be able to dip and rip and get underneath him and get into the route. But now, if you try that once and that guy just rode you down and beat you up and all, we would allow you to go outside of the 7 technique. All right? A better situation if you can get underneath him. All right? That's a problem. Coach, where you guys? Do you guys have a problem with that? No? Yeah. Backside tight end, getting in the route, but you never encourage him to get underneath the 7. One thing that we did say though, we always want you going underneath the first backer. So we want you going underneath the first backer, and let's do it in a perfect world. I got the chalk up here. Let's say we got underneath you, because now this looks a lot more like sweep. And now you want to read that backer. But as you cross, we wanted you at 12 or 14 never running into coverage, and always at least at the front side tackle's original position. And we want you reading an area in there that we define as sort of like the box area. You get into this zone, you can choke it down, you can, whoever's in there, you know, if the free's over the top of you over here by the time the play starts, choke it down in front of him. If the free went for the fake and robbed the alley, take as much money as you can get. That crossing route for us was never run into coverage. This box doesn't have to stop right here, you know, but we didn't encourage you to keep running into coverage over there. So at about a minimum of 14 yards, and then the top of that box is somewhere around 22, but we weren't a stickler about the top, or you know, you didn't have to stop at 22. We wanted you just to find that open area in there. The backside halfback now, wing back, we step down to make it look like a sweep for 2 steps. We encourage everybody's calves to look just like gut, guard trap, or sweep. 1, 2. It's not schematically correct there. His alignment looks a little tight unless he flexed too much. 1, 2. And then he ran what we call a soft post. And the soft post was where he never crowded the middle of the field. We encouraged him to never get any farther than the inside edge of a hash mark. And we never threw the ball here unless that was a call, and that was called a throwback. That was never part of the read for our quarterback. So when we run a 1 receiver waggle, our quarterback is 1, and we'll get to the quarterback in a second. 2, 3 was his progression read. That's the way we wanted the quarterback to think. And now as we talk about his technique, he's got to get around on the midline. 1, 2, notice he's not sticking the ball or a hand in there. 2, 3, he jabbed the ball as if he's going to give it to the halfback on his 3rd step. 4, he's still getting depth. 5, we wanted him raising up and if possible, throwing the out cut on the 6th step. That's what we wanted him doing. We found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're at a depth of about 6 yards. That's what we tried to teach, and we got drills that I'll show you out there. And as he looked up, remember, here's his read. He's looking at this. Is there anybody in your throwing lane? We're big on talking about throwing lanes. Is there anybody in your throwing lane? If not, throw the out cut. And you know, I've had some bad arm quarterbacks in high school and all, but sometimes the route wasn't quite as deep. You know, we made it maybe a 10-yard route back to 8, but we could always do it, and that was the read. Is there a throwing lane? And we do this with all of our passing game. I might as well talk to you about it. You know, I've heard a lot of guys talk about reading people, and we have an idea who could get in the throwing lane, and it's usually the curl flat defender. But I tell everybody, if the throwing lane's open, throw the ball to your number 1 receiver. Throw it. We're not going to read and do, you know, we're not going to say, well, what did this guy do and all that. I found we got the quarterback's head turned around. He can't read everybody's exit and play action, but he can read the throwing lane. And the reason I don't say, watch that guy's exit, because you know what? Hey, suppose, and I'll say this, and I'm going to sound like a joke, hey, but suppose a cheerleader or a mascot ran out on the field. That guy's in your damn throwing lane. Don't throw the ball there. I don't care what this guy did. You don't have a throwing lane to the ball if somebody's there. It might be the corner, it could be anybody. So we talk about that in all the passing games, throwing lanes. And you've heard that from the famous Mike White or somebody before, so you know about throwing lanes. But that's the way we teach this play action. Okay, if there is somebody in the throwing lane, primarily It could be the corner, it could be the flat defender, but if there is somebody in the throwing lane, the next guy you want to look up is the fullback in the flat. Why? He's almost in the, he's in the same vision point, number one. Number two, we can never get our guys to throw the ball to the fullback in the flat. But we felt like it was a much easier read for him rather than saying, you look here and then go back to the tight end and go back to the fullback. It's all happening right in front of you. And if they would ever throw the ball to the fullback, even though we got a lot better in our throwing percentage, if they would ever throw the ball to the fullback more, our percentage would probably go up probably 10 more points based on how many times we throw Waggle. We still didn't get them to throw there enough. Their third read was the tight end crosser. All right? And cover three. You know, this is cover three right here. And we never, ever did anything back there unless we told him to throw the throw back. The halfback's wide open. That was a call. So he kept his reads in cover three. All right? All right, that's the basic Waggle principles. And I'm going to do some other things here in a second. Let's go back to the line play. This is versus cover three. What do you guys see most of? Cover three? Okay. All right. Well, before I get to the line play, let's go ahead and knock that out then. Let's go to let's go to two look. And remember now, we're only running this baby in the middle of the field, right? Now here's the hashes, say. All right? Maybe that's not quite schematically correct. Strong safety, corners. All right. Versus two, we didn't, we thought about converting it. We don't want the wide out rather than an out now. It's not a good place. We'll get beat up. What we wanted to do though is we wanted something deep in a post corner. If you guys run that way, not a bad idea. But what we wanted to do now is what? Threaten that guy's technique. He wants to follow you inside, so you want to run him outside now. And now, as much as I do that, what? We had very few, though. We had a couple now that could stick that guy's technique and overswim. I'm not getting into all that, but we can. But, he had techniques to stick that guy, but his job now is to run a jet versus two. That's the route we wanted. This passing game to us, we try to simplify as much as possible. If the guy's deep, we're going to snap something off in front of him. If the guy's a short cover, we're going to run deep. It wasn't very hard to explain to our players. So now, that corner can do two things, right? He's going to do two things. If he thinks he's getting beat up the alley, what should he probably do? He's going to run with him now. He's been told that most of the guys we play, don't let that guy get outside. We can't help you too much. So, now who's the flat defender basically in cover two? It's him, right? So if he ran up the alley and he was covered, we're going to look there first. If we got him beat on the sixth step, we're going to throw the ball, outside shoulder. Our receivers have certain rules, though. They're never 5 yards closer to the boundary on any jet route. Let's say that's the boundary, or the edge of the paper. They can't get any closer than 5 yards. So now, if we busted him now, we stuck him and got away from him. We didn't want to wait to throw the ball. What's your rule on the outcut? Throw the ball in the sixth step, right? So now, if he's got him beat, get it there before the free's got a chance to get over there. If he's covered, okay, we got answers for if he's covered now, and he was usually covered. What's your number two read? The fullback. If he's covered, he was usually covered on the sixth step, not by the free safety, but by the corner that's running with him. And now we feel like they voided the flat zone So your read really holds up well now. You dump the ball to the fullback in the flat, and that's better than hitting the jet route, because now he's running with nobody, people chasing from behind him, as a rule. Now granted, they kind of read his backer sometime, ran with the fullback out in the flat and stuff, but he had outside leverage on the backer, outside position. Thought that was good. Now, it can still be guarded. We got some we run this route all the time versus our own defense, and those corners got good at this. Outside release, I'll run with the full ball, and then I'll put on the brakes. That's the next thing they can do. So now we're like, well, I'll dump it in the flat. Now he bust the hell out of the fullback because he put on the brakes and he did a nice job. Okay, so we said, all right, but now when he did that, right, he had to make sure that he had help from who? The free safety. When he hung for about 3 yards, and was worried and hung with it, he's buying time so that what? The free safety can now get over and cover the jet route. So now, it's perfectly in our progression read. Now, on 2, when this guy crosses and he doesn't see anybody in there, he's in that zone vacated by the free safety. So we felt like, man, we love seeing you versus 2 because we got you. You can't be right, unless that guy started robbing you. And now when he steps down, we think the routes fit in handsomely with 2 and 3. And has the quarterback had to change anything so far? Not a thing. Do I look at my outside receiver? If he's got the guy beat, boom, get it to him. Over his outside shoulder, because we know in that coverage that the guy that can stop you is a free safety. All right? Now, if the guy's running with it, he's not open, what's my number 2 choice? Go back in the flat. Take it because they vacated their flat coverage, if indeed they're in cover 2. And they can bait you and run a bunch of cover 4 and all that stuff. Hey guys, the other thing, and I keep telling everybody, when they're playing you that week, those secondary people, they're working on tackling drills. They're not working on a bunch of disguised coverage, at least even seemingly simple. If we know a little bit about the passing game, it'll carry us a long way. Okay, so the third thing is that guy can feather, run with the out, and come back and still be a support man, but while he's doing that, that guy better get on his horse now and cover it, and we felt like now we can go right back to hit the tight end. Now they sort of got everybody covered. All right? Okay. There's a lot more details that we can get into here. Now, let's do the other coverage that we get. We'll leave it at that. Let's just say it was man now. Okay? Some form of man or man pressure. Okay, now we got man, and we distinguished it now if we have either tight man or loose man, but let's do tight man. Our guys got a rule, he's too slow, I can go, so whatever. If the guy was in tight man, in general, he was going to stick his technique, but if he played him hard inside, he'd come off at an angle like he's going inside, and then he's going to run a jet route again. And that guy's going to run with him. What's going to happen? If on the 6th step, he's got him outrun, he's going to dump it. He's always looking outside, even if it's man. Okay. And so that stays true no matter what. Generally, that guy was covered for us. Now, here's where things change up a little bit. When it was man, not all the time, but when it's man, what are you expecting most of the time? Some type of blitz, right? So if you've got a blitzer, what we said was that you can't count on the fullback because if it's man, perhaps he's tied up in the protection. In the old days, when we didn't have the fullback tied in there too much, we used to like going to the fullback a lot on man. But in this case, we told the quarterbacks, you can't be assured that you've got the flat receiver now because he might be tied into the protection. Our other axiom for all man routes, however, is always throw the ball to crossers. Crossers is who we want to hit anyway. So if on the sixth step that guy was covered, which invariably he was, you couldn't count on the fullback. So on man, we taught our, we game planned it. This is what man looks like this week. He's here, this guy's here, this guy creeps. We game week coached, and I'm not going to lie to you, our guys were not that well versed. They could go, oh yeah, that's man coverage. We worked the hell out of it. This week, here's what it's going to look like. When you eyeball what's going on, this is man. Expect this to happen and that to happen. Now, we always wanted the ball to get to the crosser, so here we go. Now he's deep, his stem is 10 yards, or his depth is 10 yards, and we wanted a flat route in there, man. And so even though we said this is 1 to 2, in reality, we eyeballed that just in case the guy slipped down or he was a dog playing man. We always want to get as deep as we could whenever we can. So we want to eyeball it. We didn't say we want to go right to the tight end right now. But invariably, the guy looked, boom. That's sort of what happened. So now versus man, we wanted to come right here to a crosser. And that was our rules, though, for anything. Anybody breaking across is who we're going to throw to, whether it's 3-step, 5-step, play action, or what. Get the ball to a crosser because as well as I do from coaches of defense that nobody likes, the man coverage can't handle crossers. That's the worst thing for them. So from a route standpoint, we feel like we've got answers just in our base single receiver Waggle. All right? Let me, are we okay with single receiver to the split end? Or are we going to go the other way? Let's make sure we clear up the blocking, though, and I think that's pretty important. Some of the things, however, as well as I do, when people run a 4-4, they're going to do a little bit more than just sit there like I got on my paper. So you're going to get some type of gaps or shades at times. And we found that drove us nuts also. Let's put the tight end back in there. Okay, we felt like through trial and error now, I didn't invent some of this. I mean, I invented it by necessity, not because I'm as smart as Mike White. Not this Michael White, by the way. The Oakland Raiders are, I read our clinic one time. He had every answer to mankind. I said, I'll never be a football coach. I can't. He had every answer known to man. I sat there and I wrote it all down. And at the end, I said, what was the record? I think they were 2-9 or something. I said, last time I hear that joker talk about anything. But anyway, so, where was it? Man, he gets me heated up. Okay, we get our tackles. Our tackles couldn't block down on an A-gap defender, basically is what I'm saying. And as I went through it, maybe you've done it, we used to tell the fullback, you go through, lead A-gap, do this, do that. What did that cause? That caused him and the backside guard to have a tension convention. You know what I mean? It was you didn't do it, And so I went through that for a couple of years. Well, we're asking the fullback, this is before we gave him the backer though, read A-gap as you go through, and now we never found he got in the route too much. He's going through A-gap, never getting where he was supposed to be, and reading A-gap, backside guards running into him, we didn't like it. We had more problems than other people did with that. So, and then we found if we told the tackle, your assignment is, gap down on, you come all the way down to an A-gap defender. Well, we got this great big slow guy. We had a great big slow one. I don't know what you guys got, but sometimes we had little slow ones. Anyway, they couldn't get down there. That's too far. Just think about it. That's a whole a man and a half for a guy to come down the A-gap. We had a serious problem. So what we ended up doing was modifying our blocking, and we do this with a lot of plays. We call it split. You can call it anything you want to call it, but if we got an inside shade here, and the guard wasn't going to pull, he indicated that. You know, he and the center and the guards always had to know what was going on. So he would make the split call, and then the tackle would know, I'm going to block on, I'm going to block backside. And now I don't ever change. You know, I'm going to get my depth, okay? And 3.5. And now I'm going to look, kick out, or whatever, escort the quarterback. And we wouldn't just do this just, you know, any type of A-gap defender. And it actually came about more because of eagle fronts. So we still feel like we're in pretty good shape with pressure off the corner. Now, one of the things, however, what are you sacrificing here, man, if you got a big running quarterback? The tackle now, you know, because of the down and pin, you're not going to maybe get a pin on that 5 technique. So you're sacrificing if you've got a big running quarterback. And my suggestion would be if you're running Waggle as a running play, which is nothing the matter with that, this may be getting as much of a factor, and I don't know if I'd consider this, because that tackle now, he's going to try to, you know, run block and then fit into a pass block on that 5 technique. We found that, you know what I mean, you're not going to break containment, basically, from a running standpoint. All right, but we got so where Waggle was more of a pass for us. We didn't want to break contain on Waggle, and I'm not so sure you have that same feeling as me. How about any other front? Yeah, Coach.
What about the eagle?
Okay, let's put it up there. We only worry about an eagle backside. Front side eagle, what? There's a guy on the guard and a guy on the tackle. The rules hold up, and the backside guard is usually uncovered. They do what we should. I mean, you know, so that didn't change. It's front side eagle. We treat it just like 8-man front. That's what it looks like, right? And the center just had a single block of backside shaded nose. So, well, let's do that one. That's an easy one, right? So let's say it was eagle to the side we're going to. Block down, pull, block 1, cut. You know, that's wonderful. The one we didn't like was the backside eagle. I learned this the hard way, and I talked with Tubby and Teddy about all of it, and they're like, oh, we just tell our tackles to chop. It never worked in our league now, and I learned that the hard way. That's a -10, -8. You know, we couldn't get our tackles to check down, so we had to come up with something different. Maybe we just had bad tackles. Okay, so now if we want to eagle it this way, you got an eagle, you got a guy here, and a Willie, Mike, whatever, you know, whatever. Okay, now, where is this guy got to be in an eagle? He's got to be shaded into that side. And we found we had a hell of a time. So we would make our split call here and go here, 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 and treat it like it was nothing more than a 4-4 and an 8 gap.
You got to go all 3 coaches, the 46, guards, and center.
Double eagle. Okay, we did that a couple of different ways. All right. We did things like this. Make a stay call. That's one way we handle it. Stay. On the front side guard. We did things like if we would make a gap call at times, and we would gap, gap, gap. He would still come down, he would block on, and he would try to do it there, but we didn't like that. That's the one that didn't work. I don't recommend that. We ended up doing that with the mistake call. Well, you know, I don't know if that's going to help you if they're going to send all those people back in there. We usually found 2 with Eagles that sometimes their shades will dictate some of the stuff they want to do in game plan. We did a few other things. right offhand, but that was 90% of what we did, and it's based on what they did the most. You know, and if you find them doing something else in there, you might be able to cheat a little bit. But that's just game week. You know, you really worked hard. Eagle, you know, our kids' eyes, eagle, you know, double eagle, you know, bear, whatever we would say up there. It really lit them up, and that was usually a game week thing. Not everybody every week in our league would do that, so we would have to make some adjustments. Any other questions? Okay. All right, that's single receiver waggle. Okay, middle of the field play to the split end. Obviously, we don't just run it that way. You know, we want to run it back to the tight end also. But now you're going to see how we try to keep things as simple and the same as possible. And yet, you know, you can't always do that. Mike, make sure I got it up here, right?
Higher.
Okay, that's that. Now, I got a big screen to work with there. Okay, now let's keep going to our right. Now let's keep coming back to the tight end. We're still running waggle right. Does anybody mind if I put double wing down there? Okay. You guys want an 8-man front? You want to see it versus something else?
50.
All right, you want it versus 50? Okay. Where do you want to put the strong? It doesn't really matter, but we would prefer running in the middle of the field if they would have the strong over here to where, you know, since I got this pin, I love doing them. Now, there we go. We got them set up right where we want them. Okay. All right, quickly, the line assignments, remember, I'm not going to do many more of those. They don't assign, gap down on, aggressively run block, boom, there's a guy, gap down, guy on, okay. Pull, live or kick out the first man, outside the tackle block. And notice when you say that, I used to say for years, God, that rule doesn't make any sense. Pull and lag the first man outside the tackle. No, outside the tackle's block. You know, because the even front, he's blocking down. So that's the guy on the tackle. And your kids never get that. You told me to block the first man outside the tackle. Outside the tackle block. Block one cut. Pull, get that depth. 1.5, look to kick out, or pin down, and your freebie over there. Block 2, so this is 1, 2, unless what? Unless the backer came, you need to. So, and the halfback's going to come and block the first thing off the tackle block. Okay. Tight end now, boom, step down, inside release, versus 6 technique and run a corner route. Fullback, left foot, right foot in the center, and the flat. Now these two here, because he's the tightest guy, he's going to step down to make it look just like sweep. And you know, the more we ran weak sweep, the better this play became, because now it really looks like, you know, we've got a play over there that we run a lot. You step down and try to get inside, but don't get hung up inside the first backer and read the depth of the second backer. But you're going to get right where that tight end did. We don't like putting a top on these things or an edge, but, you know, somewhere around 14 yards or so, find it in there. You're going to be in that zone. We didn't, just wanted you in that area somewhere. Now you run the soft post. Never crossing the inside edge of that hash. All right? Now, what can you basically tell me about this route or the patterns here and the patterns before? They're about the damn same. Like, there's not a, yeah, there's a little bit of difference, though. I swear our tight ends, it's another one. We couldn't find any tight end. That's why we had to get out of the tight end business. But we put a poor, a wide out that was too slow to maybe got a little husky sometimes in there. And sometimes we keep the tight end. I never will forget, we have one tight end called one pass the last game of the year for 26 yards and a touchdown on this play. And you know what all the rest of the kids said? There goes your red shirt here. Coach could have red shirted you. You never showed up many stats or nothing. You know what I mean? We could play him again another year. No. He scored a touchdown and one. Anyway, so we're going to do exactly the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you like the tight end and you really got to form him to play action, that guy gets covered a lot for us at 3. Throw the ball to him, but throw it soon. Don't wait for him to get open. Most teams we found, you're not going to get open in 3. Now, you might find it entirely different. That was been my experience. But it goes 1, 2, 3, just like before. Entirely different look for the defense, same look for your quarterback. Same reads. Okay? I'll leave it. I'll push one up here.
Herky, that's really like a better matchup against a man, isn't it? Because you got your halfback on a linebacker instead of a tight end on a linebacker.
Well, or he might be on a secondary guy. But now, the same busters occur. If we catch him in man, we're looking for this guy to flatten this route out and come across it. Now, I was going to show it to you. We actually liked it even to the tight end a little bit better versus 2. All right? We felt like two, maybe you had a shot to get the ball. You know what I mean? If that guy stayed in the flat and the freeze, read, and play action, you maybe had a nicer chance versus 2 to run this play. We liked it a lot better versus 2. Because now we think we got a chance to get the ball right where we want to get it. And then if he rolled over the top, then obviously we felt like, we're still going through our reads, but usually that guy's going to stay in the flat. There's no reason for him not to. So you looked at 1, and hopefully you got the ball to 1 in the seam between there. And 2, maybe the corner feathered. We got that sometime. And then you could get the ball to the fullback in the flat. But then you had the same thing, it was the same look over here. To free jump that guy, you knew you could snake that ball right down the, that's the thing. We've done it right to the crosser. But we didn't say change your priority of reads. That's what I like about our system, man. I love it. You teach them one thing, and now you get the new formation, and the quarterback's already virtually got the same read. You don't have to teach him a whole bunch of other stuff. Here again, only like this, maybe into the boundary. Believe it or not, we liked it into the boundary sometime. That was kind of weird, but we felt like, okay, we'll you might think we're doing something in the field, and we're doing recoveries this way, and we'll run it into the boundary, or the middle of the field. Never, never, never will we run this play if we were on the left hash. And you got all that field over there just to run this route. We didn't like it. There's too much field in the routes. We didn't like it. All right, that's what you're used to, right? And you want, versus man, just like Coach said, just so I can put it on here, there was times, some quick things on it, just while it's on my mind. If the tight end got a 7 technique, and I alluded to this the other day, if he's got his 7, that's one case where you wouldn't want him to flex out at all, because it's stretching the guard's pin down block. Okay, so now he would stay at 3 feet, and instead of an inside release on a 7, we said that he should slam release a 7 and slam release this man. He stepped down and bumped that guy and held him 1,000. That's all he wanted, 1,000. We felt like that ball, little time for a guard to get a better pin. Obviously, you guys that know that have learned this for a long time, your chances of breaking contain now are much better, whether it's a 7-man or an 8-man front back to the tight end side. Because of the inside release of the tight end, if it's not a 7 technique, the guard usually pins down. Now the quarterback is out. If he gets off of number 1, he's got a little bit more time to keep rolling away from the rush, we felt like, back to the tight end side. One of the reasons we felt like we wanted to count their steps is when they got pressure or even if they didn't get pressure. I learned the hard way. We had a guy one time that, I used to say, just find the open guy and throw it. I mean, we kept the same read, but if the out's open, we just throw it to him. Well, we're playing Jackson State one night down in Jackson, Mississippi. There's an out cut, all right. There's my quarterback after the fake. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Quarterback back, quarterback plus 6. Okay, that was one mistake. All right, he held the ball a little too long. 3 series later, ran Waggle to the other quarterback. And this way. I think we got 14 this time, 14th step. I thought that guy was fast. You should see this guy. Plus 6. Hello, we got beat by 14 points. I said that will never happen again as long as I'm coach. And anyway, I'm just saying that. And then, I mean, that's what spurred me on to getting a step throw in there, when you should be throwing it. And maybe it's not quite as vital to you. What do you guys do? I need to ask, you guys run post corner most of the time with that guy? Or what? What do you run with your wide outs? Post corners? That even fits in even more with the quarterback's read, right? Him and the tight end now are doing exactly the same thing. We found versus cover 3, though, mainly, and that's what we saw mostly initially, that the guy was never open running a post corner in 3 for us, because, I don't know why. Those guys would hold their deep thirds a lot better, or I don't know. We could never get the guy open. Yeah, Mark?
Let's say you get the outside, and you pin down, get the ball going, get the outside, all of a sudden the pass went out, turns into a run, and the quarterback's on. Do you have any communication between that lead guard and quarterback?
Go. And we'll work some of that, too. Particularly when we had the big running quarterbacks. Now, we had some guys that could run. We loved it, But here again, we loved it more to the tight end, or I'm going to show you another play, Waggle block, and some of you know that one already, too. But, we have ways that if we got a good running quarterback and he's not quite the, he's not buying into throwing on the 6-step bullshit, we're going to, we got ways to try to help you pin down the flank. But he's going to communicate that. And if he's, a couple times he won't, but, you can usually get him to do it once he gets his jock knocked off a few times. Yeah.
So you have your quarterback throwing on the run. He doesn't set up.
Okay, that's another great point. Towards the end, based on personnel, I guess the last few years I had a throwing quarterback, and I didn't care 4, 5, 6. I wanted the ball up. I didn't care if he set up and sort of threw or not. He wasn't breaking contain if you knocked the ball down. So that was. Some of this is more of a personnel decision, but it's the last thing that's in my mind, okay? And I felt like Waggle became more of a pass, finally, for me, rather than a break contain. And now we talk about getting pulled up now. And I'll show you the drills that we do. We got pull-up drills, because you can get pulled up whether it's pressure or not. I said that lead guard is either going to kick out or pin. And our general rule for that was if that defender, when you get there, is 3.5 yards deep, you go ahead and kick him out. You got to make a decision. And everything can get gray. 4 and 5, you got to kick him out. So as our quarterbacks came by there, and Man, I slough off on my techniques. Some of it I'll get with you out there, but we talk about 1, 2, 3, and as we jab that ball to the halfback, duck that chin in the shoulder, and now you're glancing, number 1. The first thing you glance as the quarterback is the perimeter. And I don't say what's happening on the perimeter. They got to sort of feel the perimeter, because I want their eyes where they're going to be throwing the ball. I want them looking downfield, see who's in those throwing lanes. But I tell them, you glance the perimeter. You know, and you can see a blur coming outfield. You know, I can't even. You know, I tell them, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. So, you know, you got an idea right now on your third step. I'm not going to be able to get too much farther. I might even slow them down and get square. Let's get my belly button at the target. Okay. I'm going to stay with a couple more different variations of single receiver waggle. And one of them, we ran it for years. It's just a formation change and a little bit of a route change now. But it's still considered a single receiver waggle. We liked it versus man. We liked it, here again, in the middle of the field or into the boundary. Because it's indeed a single receiver waggle. Just keep me posted on where I am. I get talking, I don't even know. And the only reason I want to know about time is I want to know whether I'm going to have enough time to keep going before I do something else. Because we can talk for, I mean, you know.
You got about 25 minutes, 22 minutes.
All right. Okay. All right. We have something called a runaway waggle. All right? And now, and you're going, in a way, I'm putting the cart before the horse a little bit in that it's categorized as a single receiver waggle, but you're going to see me when I do my 2 receiver waggles, invariably we're running 2 those. And if that makes any sense to you now. And so this is a change up to that. But it goes in the single receiver waggle category. Okay? We get in what we call a 300 set. You guys use a heavy set some, or you stay more in character? Don't you ever use a heavy set? Might want to just put this one play in here to keep us from that. Okay. We get in what we call 300. And we do a lot of things. You can run belly out of this. You can do, I mean, you can run a lot of your offense out of this. We run Sally out of this back week. We run, you know, we feel like we can run a lot of our plays right out of this thing. So we don't think it's a real tip-off for the defense. You know, we got answers to, if you think you're going to cheat over one way or the other, we feel like we've got answers. We're going to modify the split now. I'll just split in. And normally, he's got alignments that we like for him to have, and usually they're 14 yards from the tackle is his base rule. However, on this one, we want him coming in 8 to 10 yards. We want him in about 5 yards closer than he normally would be. Okay. This is called runaway waggle. Runaway. So the waggle's going to the right, so that's how we come up with runaway, 329 waggle. Okay, the blocking doesn't change. We don't need to go through that unless somebody's got a front that he wants to see. Okay, what's the tight end normally do on a single receiver waggle? Step down underneath if he can, unless it's a 7 technique, on his corner route. Fullback, 1, 2. Now we don't care how you get out in your flat. I want you to run through. Now, you run the soft post, and now, this isn't an at-5 or anything. You stick the guy's technique, and now you come across, and because you're a little bit wider, we know you're not going to be able to get to 14, so we say you slam across there to about 10. Okay? So here again, you're saying, well, Coach, that looks just a lot like the rest of your routes. It sure does for the quarterback. And in reality, his progression doesn't change either. But now you're showing him a whole different ball of wax now in terms of your routes. And we really like this thing, obviously, versus man. When we know, this is a play for us. We ran it, my last year at Dell State, we ran this play 20 times, 80% completion rate, and 5 touchdowns. And we weren't a great offense, we were an okay offense, but this, and most of it was plus 20, you know, I'm thinking about this play, 20 going in, red zone play where I know I'm getting some type of pressure. Why? I like the waggle to the tight end because I think, you know, we can get a pin down and we still get a lead guard, so I'm getting away from some of the bull crap. I might get pulled up, but I still like the protection scheme. I got a couple guys, you know, these guys are building a wall back here for me, even if I get pulled up. The fullback, if it's indeed pressure, you know, we're going to take care of the front side backer. You know, I got a pin down, and I've got my guard out there escorting. I like the protection. If we get man, our routes aren't going to change. However, the fullback, if it's man and we're expecting pressure, might be married to that backer in there. But now, here's one thing that I neglected to tell you. If we do get man, number one, with the guy coming across in motion, big tip off for the quarterback if it was a disguise in the beginning. Well, that guy's coming across. If it was zone, he never came across in zone before. You know, my quarterback knows right off the bat. That helps me. I need as much of that as I can get. As well as pre-snap read, maybe he knew it, but now this locks it in. This confirms it's man. When this guy runs his route here now, and he knows that it's man, and he got followed across, what he ends up doing is he sort of, we call them rub routes. He sticks the guy, and now he picks the guy. Now, what did we say versus man? We're going to scan that guy in case somebody fell down. And now the quarterback's going to look, always hit one. If he knows it's man, he knows that guy's out of it because he can't count on him being there. So now he's probably going to hit the crosser. And that's who we want to hit in man anyway. Yeah, George? Basically, that's what it is. But, you know, we teach dig a different way and all. So this is a play action. You're going to do this. See, one thing about play actions, there's not quite as much conversions and all. They're going to be, you know, we think our routes are going to stay pretty good. We convert all of our other routes, but on play action, we're not usually checking out a place, or we're going to run those plays, and he's just coming across. But we're not thinking about this, about finding that second hole and all. We want you screaming across, and particularly in man. And whenever you outrun the guy, we're probably going to throw you the ball, or we're going to lead you to an open area in there. Okay? And it's good against zone. I mean, you know, it's not bad against zone either. You know, they're all backing up out of there. And we like it versus any. We think this route holds up good, but I'm saying it's particularly good in man. It's good against three. You know, you're hitting underneath the three. And usually the backers aren't as much a factor like they are on a dig route and drop back or something. You know, so we're not, you know, the quarterback's not, you know, he's going through his progression read of routes and play action, you know. We get all heavy duty with drop back and all, but this is something different. See, George, we can hit him anywhere in here, you know. Anywhere, you know, but he, as opposed to that halfback that goes underneath the backer and looking for a spot, choking it down, it is. It's more like you just scream across here. And one of the things I think you'll find is that you might have to modify his flex. You know, 10 yards, sometimes they're not in the quarterback's vision. You want to make sure he's at a spot where, and you don't want him just going across like that in the route because you don't have anything, we don't have anything. We always want him sticking for a reason so that if it is man, you get a stick and a pick. You know, you can pick. And pick's an illegal word, so we call it rub. You know, we don't do anything illegal. We rub it.
If the quarterback reads man, does he still try to throw it on the sixth step to the crossing?
See, we don't. Well, when we say man, you know, I've seen him go. He's looking always at his route, and if he wants to get it to that guy, he better throw it on the
So
six
he's still
step.
looking 1, 2.
Well, yeah, but I'm telling you, I even tell him this, if it's 3 and you've met our tight ends and all, you know, look and see if somebody fell down. That's about the only time you'll throw it to the tight end. And now, that's with us. If you got a bad tight end now, he's liable to get open a lot. Don't, I'm just telling you what we do or what we tell our guys. And if it's deep third, most of the corners we see, anybody worth their salt's never going to let anybody get past them in the deep third. So, you know, I mean, you look just in case somebody didn't do something because, you know, we want as much money as we can get, and that's the longest route we got. So we want to get it, but at the same time, we didn't throw to them too much, you know. Okay. Okay, I got a bunch of them here. I've got to follow my notes because we've run so many waggles. You know, and I'm still on single receiver. I ain't even got to the ones we run the most yet. We run this one a lot. We run the single receiver waggle less than 20 times a year. I don't know why we work the hell out of it and then we don't run it very much because we got all these other ones that I'm going to show you. All right, now I'm still on single receiver waggles, and some of these are old as the hat, and we always kept, you know, I can remember being a receiver coach in Delaware thinking, man, we used to bust people with that, and we continually have been running some of them. So some of them are as old as the hills, and we just put a little bit more emphasis or spin on them, and this is Waggle. We call that 5. For us, this is the 5-man. Okay? It's still considered a single receiver waggle, but with a tag on it now, when we call it at 5, you know, we've got something else brewing in here. Okay? All right, everything is the same for this guy, this guy, this guy. This is a good cover 2 route. We think. Now normally on a single receiver waggle back to the tight end, that guy's the crosser. All right, now on this one, and this is why we like against 2, and we will run it against 3. Listen, we don't care, but I'm just trying to give you the, you know, I don't want you to waste much time saying, you know, that jackass from Delaware said it worked, you know, this is where you want to work it. Now, he's going to run, basically, we don't tell him a soft post. We tell him, you run through the middle defender. In this case, it's the first deep defender inside of you. And we'll run it versus 3, and I'll show you in a minute. And now you stick the guy. And now instead of screaming across, George, like we did before, now we want to dig up into that middle hole so you get 3 takeoffs in there versus 2. And so now, the quarterbacks read now when we call this waggle at 5. He's going to roll to the tight end, outside foot. Always look here. If we got that, we'll take it every time. Boom. You know what I mean? And now there's 6. So if he gets this on a 6 step, we never change that. I mean, you know, take it. Don't get it. So he's eyeballing it as he goes. But now, because it's waggle at 5, he glances right back here. He sees what's happening with this guy. We think we got this guy in a bind. Which way did it, if the safety runs? As a matter of fact, we teach that guy to run at him and then sort of, it's not, it's more like this. Run at that safety and then bend away like that. Now that guy's, we think we got him in a bind. Here.
10 minutes for me.
You run it against any coverage?
Yeah, okay, now, if it's three,
You bring it down a little bit.
yeah. All right, if it's three, I don't know why I keep doing this. Like you say, Mike, I got a million diagrams in that thing. If it's three, what that inside receiver does now is he's got to get got an inside deep defender. He's got to run at him and get his attention. So now the route becomes more like he runs at him, through him this way. Now as we drag, and at 5, like I say, at 5 we set up cones. I'll show you how we do this on the field. But now he gets ready to stem up, and if that guy is over the top, you know, if we did get his attention, he'll choke it down right in front of the free safety versus 3. We're trying to get that free to react, but versus 3, we sort of sit down in the hole there. Now none of the routes change. So the inside receiver is trying to affect in 3 the free safety, middle defender, in 2 the closest hash safety to him. And he's trying to run through and sort of be an equal. See what we've done? How about this? I got 50-cent film. I got a $150 pointer. We want that guy to try to affect. We've thrown the ball to him before, too. You know, if the free just wants to fight up, that guy knows it in 3 or 2. But basically, man, it's a better 2 route. Okay. Okay, I got 10 minutes. Let me do this. Let me introduce you to one more. This is more like what old Mickey Waggle used to do at Hopkins. Some of you saw him. I love your Mickey. He went to Brown. Now he's doing something else. You know, these boys had this cruise package, and I'm sure some of you heard all about it. We didn't feel like we wanted to make the cruise package. It's so great and just wonderful, but it took so much detail. We got other things we're detailing. We felt like we had a lot of Waggle stuff, and we didn't need a lot of it because we think we know how to, you know, we got almost too many Waggles. However, there would be a time when we felt like that at 5 wasn't enough, and we needed something else, particularly against cover 2. So we adopted or copied, whatever you want to call it, his Waggle, and we call this Waggle takeoff. And we really worked this hard, and I don't know, we got so many things going on. We would get once or twice a year we would get it done. But we didn't make as much money out of this as maybe you can. Another good 2 route, and it's good versus 3 too, but I'm trying to give you the best first, and we can go from there. Okay, we're going to run Waggle right again. All right, now in Waggle takeoff, we're going to step down and step down. And even though Waggle takeoff became an entirely different situation for us. They heard a tag on there and they knew something was up. We wasn't just single receiver Waggle, it was something a little bit different. It wasn't runaway Waggle, Waggle takeoff. It had a suffix. Things are a little bit different here. This was something that we would put in, but it would only pull out game week when we knew we were getting a lot of 2. So this wasn't part of our steady diet of every week. It's in the game plan. So we're going to step down. We're going to step down and make it look like sweep. And the key to this play is the 2 is making that guy come up and be the 4 speed. If you don't have much of a play. So you got to really step down, you got to really step down. He runs 3 yards inside of the free safety's original alignment in 2. It's usually somewhere on the hash. He at 5 yards is 5 yards from him. At 10 yards, he's 10 yards from him. 15, he's 15 yards. And 20 to 20 yards apart. The fullback now is still tied into the protection like he always was, but now this was one of the beauties of this baby. He snuck out into the flat that way instead of going his normal play side at 5 yards. And now we got the guard pulling, the halfback blocking backside. Now the quarterback didn't threaten to flank at all. He was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hang, hitch and throw, and there's your read right there. So this was 1, 2 based on what he did. And then you came short for 3. So that, when we call that, we're looking for a home run. You notice there ain't any of this. And we're not reading the front side. Notice what I drew up there, the front side for the split end. His job was, look, we've thrown you some waggles. You know, even though technically, you know, the way it was called, it was Waggle coming to him. His job was to run that guy out of the route. So we didn't care how lousy a post corner it was. But we didn't want that guy to be able to see that route coming and be able to pull back in and make it. So he ran, I mean, a real hard post corner to open that guy up. In the old days, we used to say run in the middle between those 2 guys, but we found if you ran 3 yards inside, that guy made a move one way or the other. We didn't care if he gloved you, then we come back here. But when you got him over there too far, then that guy was able to put on the brakes and come back. So that was one that, here again, I've given you a bunch of cover 2 routes, but versus 3, we didn't mind it. We didn't mind it at all either. If all of a sudden they disguised their coverage and they jumped into 3, the only difference would be now, if we saw it in the field, you know, had somebody in it, he ran right at him and sat down at 15. He stepped down, and he sat down at 15. If he saw it was 3 instead of 2, he sat down at 15. So the takeoffs became, when I say sit down, come back routes, but they were at 15 yards because of the depth of the quarterback. And remember, this is not a roll. This is more of a setup pass off the Waggle action. We didn't like it as much against 3, but you know, that was a call. We're going to stay with it. We're going to stay with it. We had to have an answer. Had to have an answer for it. And I want to tell you, there's a whole series of things with this route that you can do that can become an entire pass and attack. We didn't want to invest the time. We wanted the greatest hits. We just wanted the #1 song out of it, and that's sort of what, you know, but they do a lot of things, and, you know, they cross people, and I mean, they do a wonderful job, but that's what we felt like we needed, and if we thought it was probably the best, and they had every answer to everything. We sort of called that one when we knew a team was, you know, 85% cover 2 team, that was their base, that's what they're going to be in. We didn't think we had enough big-time stretch plays off of play action, other than just drop back. We want to be able to play action and get them deep. And that's what we did.
Your quarterback's dead.
Came back on 1, 2. He didn't make much of a fake. 3, 4, 5. James, read that safety. That was